Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Shifting Focus podcast. Happy Thanksgiving week. It's exciting for me over here at the Bunn house because I just finished my final wedding of the year. I did it. I think I've had 12 weddings in the last 10 weeks, something like that. Finished off the year with a wedding in Arizona with my new friend and planner, Katie with Cedar and Sage events. And I want to talk today about that booking and just some things that kind of have come to light in the last week or two. I also was in Oregon, which is super cool. I was with the guys over at Wedding Crashers, Kyle, Cam, and Jacob, and Carmela, and then also Boomer was, Multiply Sound was there. Got to spend the night with him and Sarah one night, and then 3 nights with this retreat out in Oregon from the Wedding Crashers. If you don't know them, go look at some of my recent posts on John Bunn Phillips' Instagram and give them a follow. Kyle is just like a creative genius, and Cam reminds me of myself a lot, like a business-minded guy that's also creative, but leans more into the business strategies. And same thing with Jacob, just super creative. His fiance Carmela put on the workshop, all these styled shoots on the coast. It was exactly what I needed to kind of get myself reset and refreshed at the end of what I would consider the hardest wedding season that I've done in maybe the last 10 years. I said yes to so many things this year. I added photography to my brand. I ended up with 22 video weddings, 9 photo weddings. I was in Arizona 3 different times for 3 different weddings. I went to New York. I went to Boston. I went to Montana. I went to Mexico. I went to Georgia twice. I went to North Carolina once. Houston once, just a lot of different travel. I had weddings in Oklahoma City 5 or 6 times, which is about a 2-hour drive for me. And then 5 or 6 weddings in Tulsa. I did styled shoots this year, magazine styled shoots, was featured in Vogue, like paid for a Vogue feature, did that styled shoot, helped my friend Ariana do a styled shoot in the spring. And I know I've mentioned it on here before, but in the last year, I went from basically a negative bank account to booking. It's ended up being right at $350,000 worth of work this year. Really proud of myself. Not here to toot my own horn, but just kind of gave me a chance out there on the coast to reflect and to think about just everything that I've done this year, what next year looks like. And it's kind of interesting to finish the year with this wedding I did with Katie, a new planner friend of mine that I've made in the last few years. And then also to be able to sit under the teaching of Boomer with Multiply Sound and the guys over at Wedding Crashers, just with the creativity that's just oozing out of them. And it kind of really inspired this week's episode. I think that one of the attendees pulled me aside. It was, I don't know, I was really tired. It was late at night. We were all staying in this big Airbnb. Fire was crackling. There were some people playing a board game, and we had done styled shoots. It got dark so early in Oregon. I don't know how you guys do it, but it gets dark at like 4:30 p.m. and it was like maybe 10 o'clock at night. So it had been dark forever, and just the whole year had kind of caught up with me. I finally felt like I could rest. And then Andrew, one of the guys at the retreats, just said, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And we had told them at the retreat, like, anytime you get a free time, just come ask us questions. We want to be here to help. And I love it. And he just said, "Hey, I really want to get in with some wedding planners. I really want to not be needy or anything, but like, how are you getting in with wedding planners?" And so today I answered that question, and I just got to thinking about it, and I want to dig into the real strategy behind getting booked by top planners, and something that I've been doing and working. And I realize a lot of this comes naturally to me, and I just kind of want to share the wealth with you today. I want to share some of my strategies behind getting booked by real top wedding planners. And so this last weekend was kind of crazy for me. Last week, I haven't had a week off since I think the first week of October. I didn't have a wedding, and I had 6 weeks before that. And then it was just like on like Donkey Kong, for the last little bit. And I just knew I could get to the finish line November 20th. It was the end for me. And, as I release this, it's like November 24th. And I look back at my year and I'm just, I don't know, I am exhausted. I'm going to let my spirit catch up to my body. As I told my wife, I feel like my spirit's still trying to catch up. But I've got so many new ideas and thoughts. And with this Wedding Crashers retreat, I was able to sit down. I want to paint a picture for you. The guy's Airbnb was just picture windows across the whole back of the house, and there literally was a walk out to the beach just right there. So we're on the beach, and whatever was going on in Oregon this last week, the waves were just massive. And out into the distance to my left was this huge rock formation coming out of the ocean, and just birds flying. And when the sun would rise, it would rise over the east, and we were on the west coast. So like you would just kind of see pink and blue sky, and the water start to light up, and whales jumping out of the water and different. It was just kind of like this incredible thing. And being in this as a teacher of this workshop, I really wanted to get my content in order. I'd already written things, but the way it works for a lot of us is we have ideas, we put them together, and then we really kind of get a feel for the audience and then fine tune it after a day or so of being at the retreat. And so day 2 got there and I was like, hey, I'm going to be hanging out. I turned on some chill vibes. It was just me at the beach house, and everybody else went to there was a second house where the girls were staying, but like where all the food was and where all the education was. And so I just had this house to myself for like 8 hours. And it allowed me to turn my phone off and to like really pour into the content. I knew what I wanted to talk about. I knew how I wanted to talk about it, but I kind of let myself be led by my gut during something like this. And I have my notes, I put them all into order, and then I start just building out slides. And what came of it was what I think is the best content that I've created as an educator. And I think this is my 9th year, moving into my 9th year doing education. And I always have to throw out the caveat. I don't want anyone to think I'm tooting my own horn, but I just feel like I'm in a place in my 19th wedding season, having interviewed hundreds of wedding filmmakers, to really get to a point, and photographers at this point, to where I feel like I can cut through all the noise and help you immediately make a difference in not only your business, but your work, your creativity. And my presentation, it just scratched the surface of where I wanted to go. And it kind of opened up this entire new world of content that I'm wanting to produce. And so with that, one of the things that I really barely scratched the surface on was what this question was like, how do you get in with wedding planners? And yeah, I thought it was funny because I had just come from a wedding in Phoenix with Katie, my new wedding planner friend. It was a $9,000 booking, which is a little low for me, but I was grateful to have it in November, especially because our season is usually dead at that point. But it didn't just happen because she randomly found me online. I built a relationship with her, and it just kind of really helped me to explain to Andrew how I had gotten in with these wedding planners. So today I'm going to be digging into that, like how to actually get on the radar of planners without being thirsty, annoying, or desperate. But before we jump in, I need to tell you about something huge that MusicBed is doing for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It's honestly one of the best deals I've ever seen them run. So from the day this episode drops, November 24th through December the 8th, when you sign up for a MusicBed annual subscription, you'll get a full year of sounds completely free. A whole year of premium sound effects, transitions, textures, everything you need to bring real emotion into your films at no extra cost. MusicBed is where you find the emotional cinematic music that actually connects with people. There's never really been a better time to switch. So head to the link in the show notes and use code CyberMonday25 to get your free year of sounds with your MusicBed subscription. That is CyberMonday25 at checkout, and you get a free year of sounds with your MusicBed subscriptions. So let's talk wedding planners. This is one of the questions that everyone asks me. How do I get in with planners? And so the first part I really want to talk about is it's relationships, not transactions. Most filmmakers approach planners the wrong way, asking instead of giving. And I just tell people, don't be thirsty. Stop that. Quit being thirsty. Don't ask for stuff. Think about how you can give value. So don't DM a planner you've never worked with asking to be on their preferred list. For the love of God, don't do that. You build trust with planners by showing, not asking. And what do I mean by that? Like, you can show them value, you can give them value without asking for them. So we want to add value first. So what I'm thinking is, if I show up in a room and I need something from you, I'm a consumer, I'm not a producer. But if I show up in a room and I can add value to your life, I've become a producer and someone that is like psychologically an up arrow in your mind. And so if I can come into a room or a conversation and add value for a planner, that's going to be a way better feeling than me coming into the room and saying, "Hey, I would love to be on your list," or "I'd love to get to know you. Can I take you for coffee?" Like, there's a lot of people that reach out. I'm sure if you're a photographer or videographer that want to edit your films or want to, edit your photos, and you get a DM and it's just like, ugh, and you want to block it, and you do block it, and you hope that nobody bugs you. That's the same thing planners are thinking about when you just slide into their DMs and say, "Hey, can I take you for coffee? I'm a vendor in the area and I'd love to get to know you." Think in terms of connection. What bridge do I have to this planner? Maybe you're going to be working a wedding with them soon. That's a great one. Maybe you have a friend that's their friend that can introduce you, but like, how can you build a strong connecting point instead of a cold call? And before we get into that, I want to give you some examples of how you can add value to planners before asking them for anything. Vendor reels, IG collabs, next day teasers they can share, things that they can share online, like things that they can upload to their website easily, video clips for their websites, photos of them with the couple at the wedding day, like different things like that, tagging them in every clip, helping on the wedding day instead of hiding behind the camera. It's a mindset. It's a, how can I be a producer and not a consumer? And when you're on a wedding day, I know you've got a lot you're worried about and a lot you're thinking about, but you don't want to come across as needy or unprofessional. And the more people that I run into, like Larev Films, that are just so good at making you feel seen and making like the vibe that they put off in a room is there's like, I remember meeting Lindsay with Larev Films and just being like, I like this dude. I didn't feel threatened at all. He didn't talk about himself. He asked me about me. He got to know me, and I was just like, man, this guy's awesome. And he's just really good at caring about people. And so is his wife, Cherish. They're so good at it. They're very put together and very understanding that this business is a game of chess, not a game of checkers. And they're not looking at you as a transaction. They're looking at you as a relationship. And that's what's so awesome about the wedding industry is the more relationships you build, you have more of a chance to fill your calendar with people you love working with. So value does something. It creates reciprocity. And without ever you saying like, book me, you're creating this law of reciprocity, which they want to reciprocate. They want to help you. You've helped them. And, there's a lot of different ways to get in with planners. I don't recommend the cold call. I don't really recommend too many of the like trying to reach out through a friend, but that's better than a cold call. For me, the best place I meet vendors are at networking events where we're both there to meet more people, as well as at actual weddings. And I want to throw the caveat out there that a lot of people, myself included, I've done this, look at a market and say, well, that's the best planner in Oklahoma. I want to be on their list so I can have the best, most expensive weddings. But you have no relationship with this person, and reaching out and like connecting at an event, I've watched it as some of my good friends that are at the top of the industry. They weren't at the top of the industry 10 years ago whenever I was making a relationship with them. And I probably blew it really with some of these planners the first couple times, didn't really realize how important it was to be building relationships and helping them out. It was just like, yeah, you're the planner. I wouldn't really think of them as someone that I'm trying to build a relationship with. And I've seen it with people, some of my second shooters or people that I've just kind of friends with in the industry. The planners will tell me, "Oh yeah, that person reached out," and like, "All right, I don't know them. I'm not going to just like send them a wedding. They keep bugging me," that kind of thing. And you don't want to be that on a wedding planner's radar. The only caveat on that caveat is, if you know who the top planners are in your area or whatever market you're in, there are times where the couple will book you because you've done a good job of getting in front of them, and the planner doesn't know who you are. And if that's the case, this is a huge opportunity for you to work a wedding with a planner. I watched my friend, Holly is her name, run photos for one of my good planner friends, and it was the first time that she had worked with her. And Holly's amazing. Just never had the opportunity to work with her. They had been friendly, but I remember the first wedding Holly got to work with one of my good vendor friends, planner friends, and Holly was nervous, and she did such a good job of just serving and getting next day edits and listening to the planner and making it easy and being fun to be around and joking around, having a good time, but being professional. And now almost every other event I see with this major planner in town, Holly is taking the photos for her. Why? Because the work is amazing. She's done a good job of building the network with her planner, with this planner, and she is really great to be around and really memorable, and it just works. And so you can get in with some of the top planners, especially if somehow you're booked on the same wedding. Reaching out and saying, "Hey, top planner, I really want to work with you. I'll give you a free wedding." It's like, it might not be the right vibe. It's like, who's this person that's so thirsty they're willing to give me a free wedding? Sometimes patience is much more important. And so value creates reciprocity, and add value to people. Weddings that you're working, pay attention, add value to the planners, especially if they're planners you want to work with in the future. Think of ways that you can have your own special version of whatever it is that you do for them, so they don't forget about you. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but play chess, not checkers. And I think that for me, this is huge. You're wanting to think long term, not can I get this wedding? So you hired this planner, or you're working with this planner. You want to make a good impression on them. You're not just looking for the immediate transaction. You're looking for how you can get to know them, serve them, hook them up, create opportunities to work with them in the future. So I just got back from Phoenix, like I mentioned earlier, and the planner was Katie. She's with Cedar and Sage Events. She's great. Um, and I met her almost 3 years ago now. And in How to Film Weddings, my previous podcast, we had a retreat every year for our mastermind group. We were going out to Scottsdale and needed a planner. And I asked one of the alumni of our mastermind group, who do you know? And she mentioned this lady, Katie, with Cedar and Sage Events. We interviewed her and we hired her to put on our first event. She was super cool, definitely our vibe. And we just had a great time. I gave her value. I paid her. I found her, and we got along really well. We see the same way in a lot of things. And it worked. It was great. We became friends. We decided to do Scottsdale year 2 again with Katie. So we did 2 years in a row of her planning our retreat. And every year I'd like, man, we got to find a wedding to work together. That'd be so fun. And that's all it really was. And earlier this year, she was like, hey, I don't know if you're booked on November the whatever day, but I've got a couple. It's a pretty big wedding for me, and I think you'd be a really good fit for video. And I said, you name a price, I'll make it work. And that is why I took it for $9,000, which is a little lower than what I would have taken it for, but just got done with that wedding with her and had a great time. It was great working with her. We had some rain, which was kind of crazy for Arizona. But I made a same day edit. I have tagged her, and I sent her a lot of screen grabs that I up-resed and got her really high quality images. I worked really well with the photographer, Brittany. She was amazing, made relationships with her. I know this isn't an episode about getting in with photographers, but the same principles work. And so I was able to get a $9,000 booking from this relationship. I didn't beg. I just simply stayed in front of her. I would occasionally, check in or comment on her posts or whatever, DM her, hope you're doing well. And in January of this year is when we had her for our second time to plan our mastermind retreat. And so I just kind of stayed in front of her. That wasn't thirsty. It was awareness, and I created awareness. And that is what was really important. And so I think that playing chess, not checkers, is a really big deal. So got a couple more points. Before we get into it real quick, I've got to tell you about an incredible Black Friday sale from Imagine, my go-to AI editing assistant. Imagine just launched their Black Friday campaign, and it's 50% off of everything, folks. I'm talking 50% off your first month, 50% off their culling subscriptions, 50% off every editing profile in their profile shop, and 50% off your first installment if you're doing an annual plan. They give me hours of my time back that I can reinvest into my business, the client experience, and then scaling my workflow. If you've been curious about trying Imagine for photo culling or for video color grading, be sure to check them out. Now is the perfect time. The offer ends December 2nd. So be sure to hit the show notes and check out imagine.ai if you need help with your photo editing or color grading for your wedding films. So we mentioned to not play checkers, but to play chess. The next thing is we want to show up really big on the wedding day. I want to go above and beyond every single time. What does that look like? It's different for every brand, but I'm going to show up looking a certain way, smelling a certain way, having energy that is what I want it to be, being helpful, going above and beyond. I'm serving the couple and the planner and the other vendors. That's my mindset. And there are a lot of little things that planners remember. Not being high maintenance, keeping the planner included, texting them just, hey, here's where we're at, we're ahead, we're behind, whatever it is. Helping with the timeline just a little bit, like seeing the timeline, making sure that we're good. Problem solving without drama. I mean, come on, like, don't add drama to the wedding day. Be somebody that is helpful on the wedding day. I will stay late if I need to. No questions asked. I'm not complaining about the vendor meal. I am there to serve. I'm packing snacks. I don't care. I've almost died on this hill before the opposite way, where I would be angry if I didn't get a vendor meal. That's not what we want to do. We want to have the best attitude, and you can determine after a wedding if you didn't like working with that planner and don't want to work with them again. But to me, there's something that happens with this law of reciprocity when you're just awesome to be around, when you're helpful, when you're grabbing the dress because you're taller and you can get it on the hook, or you can get it off the hook, or whatever, or you're helping do whatever. Like, this whole mindset of the brand that you're bringing to the wedding is what is going to attract top wedding planners. I can't tell you this enough. Karma is good whenever you're doing things in a way that is helpful to everybody. And I can just say this, even with a 16-hour day or a long day, you can have a great attitude and you can come bring your A game with your attitude and the way you show up at every single wedding. Maybe you're not getting the most creative work. I wasn't able to get as creative as I wanted to because of the rain this last week. It was kind of a bummer, but I did everything I could do to make it the best. I put together a teaser that you would have no idea it rained. It made the planner look really good. The couple's really happy. And I want to show up big on the wedding day. Not big personality, but I want people to be like, that video was incredible. How did you do that? I want to wow people with my brand. And every action that I create, it's a touch point for my brand. If you think about it, you are the brand at your wedding that you're filming, you're photographing, whatever you're doing. It's like on display. And one of the points that I said in my talk the other day in Oregon was I was talking about the brand of Mercedes-Benz. And whenever I say Mercedes-Benz or Rolex or something like one of those brands, you immediately think high-end and luxury, timeless, stand the test of time, classic, those kinds of things. And then I asked, who has been to the Mercedes-Benz website in this room? Nobody. But then I said, well, what is the brand of Mercedes? And people said all the things I just used to describe. And I said, so your brand is more than your website. Your brand's more than your logo. Every touch point, every time someone sees a Mercedes driving by, every time someone has been in one or anything, like a commercial on TV, or the vibe of Mercedes is, this is expensive. It's very high quality. Not everybody can afford one. It's really nice. Like, the voice of their brand is very obvious. And so what is your brand voice at a wedding or before a wedding when you're trying to reach and connect with the planner? Does your work line up with their work? Does your work line up with like their style? Are they going to be impressed when they go over to your Instagram page? Will they even be able to see who you are on your website? I could go for days, but this is the stuff that matters more than you would realize to stay in front of top planners. So you want to show up big on the wedding day. After the wedding, you want to stay top of mind. I can't explain this enough, but like things like social media, it's free real estate in the minds of the planner. I did a wedding in April or May in Sedona. And this, about once a quarter, what I like to do is take all the weddings that I did in the last 3 months and spend a day, maybe 2 days, going through all the footage and seeing what gold lies beneath the surface in those weddings. And maybe it's a little speech, maybe it's a little moment. And this is how I get social media clips. Most of these are the ones that would go viral. And I was thinking about the Sedona wedding. The bride was a cheerleader for the Denver Broncos. She's actually on the new Squid Games challenge show. So I was just thinking about her. She's like on that reality show. And anyway, I got a text from her saying, "Hey, do you have any footage during the wedding where the leaves started to fall down? During the ceremony, the wind blew and like this tree right above them just dropped like from the heavens, all these leaves. And it looked like it was raining, but it was leaves. It was really pretty. And I was like, oh yeah, I do have that. And I was just about to start getting into some of these social clips. And so I went back into the archives and I found the clip and I put it together in this like vertical reel. And I just said, POV, your wedding day is straight out of a fairy tale. I invited Zoe, the bride, as a collaborator on Instagram. She accepted. She's got a ton of new followers because she's on TV, which is great. I invited the planner, who I haven't talked to in 3 months, as a collaborator. She accepted. I invited the venue. They did not accept. I don't know if they even noticed I did it. I tagged the makeup artist. I tagged everybody. I usually save a note in my phone that says Zoe and Chris, and then it has copy and paste all the vendors and what category they're in a note so I can easily copy and paste it into their description. So it tags everybody that was at this wedding. It reminds them I exist 6 months, 7 months later. The bride shares it to her story. I share it to my story and tag all the vendors. I make it easy for a vendor to, all they have to do is hit add to story, and now my video is showing up to their followers. It does a couple things. It gets me awareness, but it gets me back in front of that planner. And I do this for every single wedding that I look at and say, this is a John Bunn Films couple through and through. With 30 weddings this year, I would say about 20 of them were this for me, like just through and through. And all 30 of the weddings have elements that really speak to my ideal brand voice. And so what I'm planning to do now that my season is over is literally taking this week and going through and finding clip after clip, listening to all the speeches and saying, what content can I create for my social media that is going to not only potentially expose my brand and give awareness to new people, but mainly to planners and photographers, and just staying in front of people is half of the battle. If you've had the opportunity to work with your ideal planner, maybe make a reel this week, tag them, send them a DM and just say, man, it was so great working with you. Hope we get to do it again soon. That's a different kind of serving than just asking to work together again soon. I hope that makes sense. I hope that's helping. And so staying top of mind after the wedding is huge for me, especially since I want to take less and less weddings. I'm trying to be more appealing to the 8 or 10 wedding planners that I really like working with. And then I know just by the ebbs and flows of my business, 5 or 10 new couples are going to find me from just staying online. And then 5 to 10 couples will find me through their planner or photographer or vendor relationships. And that allows me to continually have a supply and demand issue, which is great. If the supply of John Bunn films is vast, if there's a lot of openings, my prices have to come down. But if I'm filled up for the year, I already have 8 out of 15. I'm about halfway there. I can hold my prices steady or begin to raise them. And if I'm all the way booked for the year, maybe I have spots for 1 or 2, I can be really stingy with my prices and really raise them due to the supply and demand. And so staying top of mind allows me to do that. I'm posting clips, I'm tagging vendors, I'm tagging the planners, I'm sharing behind the scenes moments. I've got my Ray-Ban Meta glasses. I'm just showing people what it's like to work with me. The more that I show my face on my stories, if I show my face at that wedding in Arizona with Katie this weekend and a clip from my Ray-Ban glasses, she not only gets to remember or see what it's like working with me, but she gets reminded that I exist. And so the more that I have footage of me, if I get my second shooter to, film a few clips of me or whatever, I can then show up in people's feeds and they say, that's John. That's what John looks like on a wedding day. That's what John acts like on a wedding day. And then they get an inquiry and they're like, oh yeah, John, top of mind. In that, I can't tell you that action creates the reaction, that motion creates the emotion in your brand. And the more that I've done this, like, my work has to be excellent. But if all I'm focused on is my work and not the relationships I'm building and staying in front of people, nobody ever sees the art. Nobody ever sees the work. No one ever knows it exists. So that other part of the business is pulling you to get in front of people with your social media and get in front of these planners. And so staying top of mind after the wedding is really important. Remember, this is chess, and we want to stay on top of mind all year because you just never know what's going to happen in your business. So a little bonus point that I want to talk about with you is why most creatives never break into planner circles. And I think that this is really important, or I wouldn't be talking about it, of course, on the podcast, but most of us quit too early. We assume that planners don't like us and we only give value when we want something. We're not consistent. One of my points that I think that I said this last weekend, or it might have been the podcast before, but relentless consistency. I can tell when planners don't like me, and I've not done anything to rub them the wrong way, but they don't like me as I don't fit for their couples. Most of them like me, but there's a couple planners in town, no matter what, they refer against me. I don't know why. There's cheaper videographers. They see better value, something. I might rub them the wrong way. I'm not sure, but that's fine. And it's okay if certain people don't like me, but I'm relentlessly consistent with those people. I know that I'm going to work with them again and again because brides in my area are going to find me and they're going to hire both of us. A lot of times when I work with those specific planners, the bride is the one that found me, which is fine. But the relentless consistency, I've won over a lot of people because I think, like, being aware of my personality, I know that I am very into the business of shooting weddings. And I can come across as like such a business person sometimes, not an artist. And my prices can offend some planners, which I'm okay with. And they don't get it. They don't get the why. Why am I, charging what I charge when this person charges half as much? They don't see that value. It doesn't mean as much to them. And usually it's them. It's not me. And I'm okay with that. And so, um, that's important to just be self-aware. And just remember not to give value when you want something only. If you're not consistent, be consistent. Show up consistently online. Be relentlessly consistent. Try it for the next 90 days through the end of the year and through January or February. Just show up. Be in your stories. Tag people that you've worked with before. But if you take your normal weddings and never turn them into things that the planners can use or be reminded that you exist, you're going to miss out on being in the planner's inner circle. And I didn't even scratch the surface on things that I do to like stay in front of planners, but there's a million things you can do to add value. You can pop by their studio or ask them if you can come take headshots or, record a little about us video for them or whatever, or film at a wedding, just a little behind the scenes of why the design is the way it is. Like, get creative. You can be a creative business person. And that's what I love being creative at doing. And, when you understand the planner psychology, planners aren't looking most of the time for the best videographers and photographers in the world. They're looking and they want the best quality. They want that. But what they're looking for is reliability. They're looking for low stress personalities, consistent quality, fast turnarounds, someone who's not going to embarrass them. When you make their job easier, you win long term. And so my key reminder for you is you don't get in with planners. You don't get in with them. You earn your way in through consistency, value, presence, and professionalism. So you're not going to get in with planners. You're going to earn your way to them. I have a part 2 to this episode that I'm going to be putting out either next week or the next week after. But I wanted to just tease you, I guess, a little bit on this. We talked about the strategy behind getting planners to notice us. Next week, we're going to dive deeper, specifically into some of the tactics I use, the scripts I use, and how I approach planners in real time. So if you want more bookings from planners, you're not going to want to miss next week. I mentioned it also last week. I'm putting together a small mentorship group. I saw it in Oregon this last week. Several people asked me, but when you're in the room with somebody that's been doing it for 20 years and can ask questions, it's different when you can get that back and forth. Right now it's a podcast. You're listening to me. I can't hear what you're thinking. You might have a little question and I just ran right by it because I'm talking and, just me in here. But what I'm looking at putting together is a group of probably about 10 people. 10 people that have plateaued in their business, that are charging a decent amount, but they feel stuck in the middle market. And I want to help you get unstuck from the middle. And that was the topic of my talk in Oregon, is how to get unstuck from the middle market. And I clarified it by saying not the middle market just with price, but the middle market with the vendors, the middle market with the quality of the wedding, whatever that means for you. I want to show you how to personalize your brand so you can take it to the next level. This is not going to be a big marketing push. I mentioned this last week, and I think 8 or 10 people reached out. But it's going to be around $1,000 a month for 2 months, an 8-week thing, where I'll walk you through some things with some teaching, and then have time for Q&A in a Zoom call situation. And so I'm going to do that as my schedule allows in December and January. And if you don't make the $2,000 back within 6 months based off of this, I'll give you your money back. I'm not trying to make a ton of money off this, but I want it to be really easy for you to kick off your year with a strategy that's going to help you get in with the people that you want to get in with. And it's going to help you get over that plateau in your business. To be honest, without people helping me, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And I want to be able to give back to you. If that is you, I don't have a website link. I'm keeping this super just chill. Send me an email to john@johnbunnfilms.com. That's JOHN at JOHNBUNN films with an S.com. And just say, I want mentorship in the subject line. Let me know that you're interested. Like I said, it's probably going to be right around the $1,000 mark. If you emailed me last week, send me another email this week. I'm getting a little clearer on what it is that I'm going to be putting together. You'll be my guinea pig, so this will be the cheapest that I ever offer this. But one of the things I knew I wanted to do was offer like smaller mastermind type cohorts and have them be a couple of months long. We might add more months after. We might turn them into in-person thing. I don't know what we're going to do, but I just know right now in December and January is so important for you to get the information so you can elevate your brand and so that you can get unstuck from the middle market. So if that is you, again, john@johnbunnfilms.com. Just put in the subject line, I want mentorship, and I will give you some information about this group that will be starting roughly the second week of December. So with that, I just want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank the team over at Wedding Crashers for inviting me to the Oregon coast. I want to thank Katie for trusting me with the wedding in Arizona. And I just want to remind you, if this is helpful, it means the world to me if you either send me an email or send me a DM, share this podcast with somebody that you know that needs it, because I think that this information can transform your business. And I want to keep offering this for free. I just need your help sharing it with people you know. Last but not least, as a reminder, MusicBed and Imagine, our episode sponsors, are having Black Friday sales, but all of my sponsors over at john-bunn.com or in the show notes, most all of them have Black Friday specials going on. If you love this podcast and you need any of their products, click the links, help support me as I support them. That's all that I have for today. I'm so excited to hear your feedback on this. We'll be back next week with another episode, and until then, we'll see you. Wedding filmmakers, do you know the feeling? You've got a mountain of footage and backlog that just won't quit. That's where Wanderlust Videos comes in. Their team can handle it all, from import to export, and my favorite part, they nail my style and color grading every single time. It's like having an extension of my own creative brain. Head to john-bunn.com or check the show notes for 10% off your first order. Wanderlust Videos. Stop drowning in edits and let them take your films to the next level.